Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and to another episode in the N-scale railroad build in my workshop. If you watched the last installment, you will have seen me complete the framing, and originally that was all I was contracted to do on this project. But as you have no doubt realized by now, I was later hired to do more work, and this video will cover laying the track in the main staging yard ladder. So without further ado, let's just head back out into the workshop and get busy. I hope you enjoy the show.
In the last clip that I made, I showed you that I had completed the fascia and the backdrop. I'd spackled all the screw holes and the joints, and I left it with temporary screws and weights on the foam to hold that down while the glue set. Well, this morning, although I got off to a late start because I had to go and get some more fuses for my AC unit, I've been out here a couple of hours and I've got all the temporary screws and bricks put away, and I have vacuumed off the entire railroad. So it's a lot cleaner now. There was so much dust on it from all the woodworking. Anyway, the project for this afternoon is to start working on the track in this area. And yes, I know I said I'd finish the fascia. That does not include this area around here, because I want to get the foam roadbed in first, when I can still put it over the edge and then just cut it using the edge of the benchwork as a guide. It's a lot easier to do that before I put the fascia in. So that's why I haven't finished that few feet along there. Anyway, this afternoon I am going to put the foam rubber roadbed down and start track laying in this area. It would have been so much easier if I'd been contracted to do that from the beginning, where I had plenty of room to get in there. At the moment, with the benchwork built above it, it's a little bit tight, and I don't feel like dismantling the whole railroad to get in there. So I'm just going to have to reach in from the two sides. It'll still work, it'll just be a little bit more awkward. Anyway, I'm going to go inside now, get some lunch, and give the dust time to settle, and then I will brush that off again before I glue the foam rubber down. So don't go away, I'll be right back. Well, after struggling to reach underneath the second level to get the foam roadbed installed, I decided that it was going to be very difficult to get accurate alignment for the track. So I made the decision to remove everything above it. We only had to get rid of 3 frames, 1 on the middle level and 2 on the level above. But in order to get out the one that was partially above the helix, I had to remove the first freestanding piece of backdrop from the upper level. And to get that piece out, I had to remove the remainder of the upper level backdrop, because the way they are designed, they have to come out from this end because of all the overlapping tongues like that. Anyway, it was a bit of a fight. It always is dismantling a layout, because there's always a little bit of glue seepage, and of course where I put the masking tape in to stop the seepage, the tape actually glues it together quite well, or sticks it together quite well. So that's a fight to get out. Once I've broken the glue on the masking tape, then the pieces come out fairly easily. So I think the time that it took me to disassemble that part of the railroad is time well spent in making it so much easier to install the track in the staging yard. I'm going to go in and take a bit of a break because I'm all hot and sweaty, and also I've got to make sure that I've got all the alignment correct. Let me go away, do that, and I will be right back. Well, I didn't get anything permanently installed, but I did get the first few turnouts and the 2 double slips prepped, and 2 pieces of track cut the right length to go across this benchwork joint. Although this piece will be curved to line up with that one, it wants to stay straight at the moment. I'll need to glue it in place and then pin it while the glue sets. But I've also got to get holes in the benchwork before I can install them. I've never seen this before, but all the double slips and the unifrog turnouts they have wires already attached to the frogs. So I'm going to have to mark them and drill through the benchwork tops before I can install them. And since it's non-insulated wire, I'm going to cut them off short and solder a piece of green insulated wire to them, because I always use green for frogs. But I'll do all that tomorrow. It's already 6:30 and I'm going to go in. So don't go away. I'll see you tomorrow. Well, I got off to a pretty slow start, but I think this is a good morning's work. I had to start with the double slips, and they were a bit awkward, mainly because the feed wires to the frogs were already installed and I had to poke them through holes and everything, so it was difficult to line them up. But once I got those two in, it started to go a bit faster. And I've only got one turnout left in the rear half of the staging yard. I haven't really started the front half yet. I've also got the two main lines and the two halves of the reversing loop fully connected up. There's still a few more joints have to be soldered, but I'll go around afterwards and figure out where they are. The only track from this area that hasn't been done yet is the bypass track from the reversing loop to make the continuous run. I mentioned that in an earlier video. That was a later addition by the customer, which I talked about in an earlier video. Another reason for it taking a little bit longer than perhaps it should have done is that originally I wasn't going to be doing any track laying in this area. The client was going to do that himself, so I left all the tracks short on this bench work so as to avoid any possibility of damaging them during transportation. And the intention was that the client was just going to lay the tracks straight over the joints. But now that I'm having to do that, I've had to put in a lot of little pieces to make it up so that they join at the benchwork joint. I guess on the plus side it means that I'm going to have plenty of opportunity to use up all my offcuts, so there's not going to be any wastage. Anyway, I think that's probably enough talking for now. Let me get back to work and I'll see you later. Don't go away. With one more turnout and 5 more pieces of plain track installed, the rear yard is now done. Well, as far as I'm going anyway. Goes all the way to the benchwork joint. I'm now going to transfer to the front, move the chair around to the other side, get the tools all moved into better positions, and start on the front yard. This one is a little bit more complicated in that the rear track, the equivalent of this one, is actually a crossover over here going to the auxiliary yard. Anyway, let me get reorganized and get back to work, and I'll check in with you later. Don't go away. Well, I've been hard at work for a good portion of the afternoon, and in addition to the rear yard, I have most of the front yard laid out as well. I've got 6 of the tracks finished, and I've started to work out the alignment for the crossover and the auxiliary yard. In order to get enough clearance for track 2 in there, I end up with the front track being about 1/4 of an inch further forward than I'd marked it out. But that doesn't do any harm because there's plenty of clearance from the leg. I've got a little bit of time left today. I'm probably just going to get those 3 turnouts and 2 pieces of flex track installed. So the main staging yard is done, and then all I have to come out and do tomorrow is the auxiliary staging yard and the cut-off track. So let me get back to work and I'll check in with you again later. Don't go away. Well, I think that is a good place to stop for this evening. I have completed the yard ladder for the main 16-track staging yard, and there's these 3 turnouts already in place for the auxiliary staging. So I've got about 5 or 6 more turnouts to lay tomorrow and a few yards of track, and that will be all this track laying done. Of course, that's the quick part. Installing all the feeders and the switch machines takes a lot longer, but that will be a job for another day. I'm going to go inside now, feed Zeus, get some dinner, and I have a layout design to work on this evening. So don't go away. I'll check back in with you tomorrow. Well, it's Thursday morning and I'm back out in the workshop with my trusted companion, Jesus. He wanted to come out here with me this morning. We've got a thunderstorm going on outside, so hopefully the power stays on. If not, I won't be able to continue, but assuming it does, my goal for this morning is to install the ladder for the 8-track auxiliary staging yard, which is the one that heads under the edge of the helix. So basically it's just more of the same that I did yesterday. Let me continue and I'll be right back. Don't go away. Well, here are all the remaining turnouts laid out approximately where they go. I've drawn lines to extend the auxiliary staging tracks, just so I can make sure that the first turnout is lined up correctly. And we just got a 3 turnout pinwheel ladder here, and then a more conventional straight ladder at the back. I did make one slight mistake yesterday, or slight misjudgment. These 2 turnouts should have had their operating wire on the other side. So they're going to end up very close to the track, but it's not a big deal. I'm just going to have to shorten some of the ties, which I need to do at turnouts anyway. When I first put it in, I had a bit of an oh crap moment, and then I realized that it wasn't a problem. But it probably would have been better if they'd been on the other side. Okay, this turnout, I've got to be careful because it's close to the rib, and this one needs to be moved slightly, which is where there's a gap there that wouldn't otherwise need to be there. And also this turnout, as long as I remember to put the operating wire on the back side, it will still work, because the front of it, there's a rib in the way. Other than that, everything is pretty much straightforward. So the first thing I'm going to do is get these 5 turnouts along the front all joined together with the short connecting bits of track, just so that I can position them accurately. Let me do that and I'll be right back. Well, one of the turnouts is now permanently installed, and the 5 along the front are all laid out and the holes for the throw bar already drilled. This last one, I had to reposition it, and the switch machine is going to have to be surface mounted at the front because there's just too much framing underneath it. I was not able to get it into a position where I could actually get the control rod down and enough space for a switch machine. The problem was that it was right in an acute angle where the 2 framing members were too close together, so wherever I put it, it wasn't going to work. But surface mount's okay, it just takes a little bit longer, that's all. Anyway, next thing I'm going to do is unwind the frog feeder wires, get the green extension soldered on, and get those poked through. And then I can glue them in place. After that, it's just plain track. So let me continue, and I'll be right back. Don't go away. Well, I've now completed the front 4 tracks. We've had several thunderstorms go right overhead, and the power is still on, so today is a good day. I'm going to continue with the other tracks. I might go in and have a bit of a break because the rain has currently abated, so now is probably as good a time as any. Or I might just stay out here and work right through lunch. I haven't decided yet. Anyway, stay tuned. I'll be right back. I've just got back out here again after taking another short break. I went inside because I was out of weights, and also the weights where they were blocking access to the last remaining track. I have most of it done. Track number 8 on this yard still has about a yard missing, and I've got 2 short pieces missing in here. I also got the bypass track sorted out. I put the insulated joiner right here so that it's right opposite the end of the reversing section, right there. It just seemed like a logical place for it. Well, I didn't expect to be back quite so soon. Only a couple of minutes have passed since the last recording. I realized that I had to shave the foam down because the lower area wasn't quite wide enough and the track would have had a bump in it. But that is easy to do with an oscillating mortar tool like this. It only took me a few seconds, or maybe a minute. Anyway, now I can get that piece of track installed, so don't go away, I will be right back. Well, all the track laying in this area is completed, and I've cleaned up the mess, put all the tools away. I may have mentioned once before that that is the quick part. It'll take me a lot longer to get the feeder wires and switch machines installed. But that will be a project for another day. So don't go away, I'll check in with you again tomorrow.
Well, that's all for this week. Originally I was going to split it, but then I thought, no, let's just join both sections together, make it a little bit longer. And I think now is a good time to break it. In the next installment I will get on with the wiring and switch machines, and that is a much bigger job than just laying the track. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you back next week. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and bye for now.